What's up, gorgeous? I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to another episode of the Fierce Framework, where we talk about becoming fierce through messy action, baby steps, and cultivating our confidence. I'm your host, Mary Beth. I'm a self-diagnosed ADHD entrepreneur with a vision to see more women break out of the mold society tells us we're supposed to fit into and start living lives that we're excited about. My goal is to help other neurospicy entrepreneurs work sustainability and individuality into your business so that your business works for you and supports a life that lights you up. So I hope you find encouragement and inspiration in these episodes. Let's get into it. What's up, gorgeous? So, this month on the podcast, we are talking about romanticizing, and we dove into it last week, kind of moving on the foundation of self acceptance and just allowing yourself to have needs and meeting those needs. And then we kind of dug a little bit deeper into romanticizing and nurturing yourself and pouring into yourself. And I want to keep talking about that specifically when it comes to rest and romanticizing rest. And to kind of recap with like making sure we're on the same page. When I'm talking about romanticizing, I believe it's valuable and important because I think that the way I look at romanticizing is like the core function is believing in yourself, so, and that you're worth like giving yourself space to be creative, to tap into your talents so that you can have the impact you want to have. Right. So it's like if you feel called to be like a painter or an author, but you're not allowing yourself to develop those talents, then you're not putting out that gift into the world. Right. So we need that nurturing and that pouring into ourselves to then produce that beauty, that contribution, like whatever that special sauce is that you have. And so romanticizing is that like nurturing, pouring into yourself and really it's like adding fertilizer to the soil, right? Like, can plants grow out of soil? Yes. But romanticizing is really adding that fertilization. And so you're getting even better. You're getting more of the good stuff and you're really like cultivating that. I define romanticizing as a combination of like self-care and mindfulness. So it's about like, not just like pedicures and bubble baths, although it can be, but it's about being present and mindful and grateful so that you can really like soak up all the good that a moment has to offer. And building on that, right? That is hard to do when you're exhausted because actually, like being present and being mindful, it takes energy, it takes intention. You have to be like in your right mind to be able to be really present, right? So, what is so powerful is rest. And I think it's a core ingredient and even like a maybe a prerequisite even to really getting the most out of those romanticized moments because you can't really appreciate it to its fullest potential when you're exhausted. And so we talked a lot about romanticizing last time, and I even thought about switching these, but I can't now because I just said last time so many times. So, building on last time, I want to dig into rest and why it's so important, and it's like the foundation. And so let's start with the premise of you don't need to earn rest. First of all, I want to make sure that's clear. You are not a robot. You're a human being. Okay. So rest is not a reward, a gift, a present, something that you only deserve sometimes. You don't have to earn rest. It is part of your normal human functioning. You need air, you need water, you need food, you need rest. Okay. And so you already deserve it. You don't have to do anything to deserve it. And I want to make sure that we're clear there and that that is understood. And if that's something you need to work on believing, totally fine. We've all been there. It's unfortunately very normalized in our culture. So no judgment. We are not adding judgment and shame on top of being exhausted. Okay. We don't need to do that. We can just skip that step. Okay. So rest is really important, but it can also be really hard because a lot of us were trained and indoctrinated to believe like we're always supposed to be doing something. And it's kind of like just a general like thing in our culture, like do, go, 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 more, right? But if you're always pushing and you're never resting, you're going to burn out. So if you're always grind, grind, grind and push, push, push and improve, prove, prove, go, 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 eventually you're going to run out of steam, you're going to run out of fuel, you're going to burn out. So if we can, before we get to that point, start incorporating rest into our rhythms, into our everyday life, into our weekly routines, then you can actually prevent burnout altogether, and you're creating a more sustainable, fulfilling life. Because a lot of us, or at least, me as a neurodivergent person, I go, 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 and then I crash and burn, and then I have this like recovery period, and then I finally get to like functional again, and then it's like go, 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 trying to make up for the lost time, all the time I lost resting, because I had this idea that I'm supposed to like have the output of a robot and never need downtime, and that is not accurate. We're a lot more like a house plant, right, than we are a robot. You're not going to be blooming all the time. Okay. And when sometimes in some things, like when we're starting something new or we're in a new situation, sometimes you're like a seed and you can't even see progress yet. And that's okay. We need to be a lot more gentle with ourselves. And I think that's part of why I love this romanticized section so much. Is like pamper yourself. And if you can't like pamper yourself, then be gentle with yourself. Okay. If you can't romanticize a moment, fine, but at least meet your needs. There is a gamut, there's a range, and we're all on different areas of the spectrum. And sometimes we're really good in certain areas and still have a lot of work to do in other areas, and that's okay. One of the things we don't need is to add shoulds and shame on top of our journey. Okay. So if that is the biggest thing you do for your self-care is to delete some shame out of your life, amen. Do that. Start there. Absolutely. That is a great place to start. That is a strong, strong starting point. Okay. Um, so talking about rest and how important it is, if we don't rest, we'll burn out. And so instead of this like toxic cycle of like overworking and then burning out and then recovering as quick as we can and overworking and burning out, if we're able to incorporate rest and caring for ourselves and nurturing ourselves and building a sustainable life, like sustainable rhythms, and that rhythm will change, right? Seasons are going to be different. You're not going to have the same rhythm, but rest needs to be incorporated in pretty much all of them, right? And some seasons there's more go, go, go and less rest, but we're not going to do no rest for extended periods of time anymore. Okay, deal? Okay. And I understand that rest can be hard because, like I said, we're kind of raised usually to feel like we're always supposed to be doing something. And then there's so many other factors, right? And I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, but like there's we kind of know, right? There's other factors of, maybe childhood trauma or like things that we learn or like anxieties that are going on within us that where we feel uncomfortable resting or not doing anything, or we feel like our worth is tied to how much we do, or our value is tied to how much we produce. And so all of those things can make it really hard to rest. And so, not being a therapist, not being a psychologist, but I do want to share some of the things that, like, I've just learned from my journey and learning how to kind of allow myself and give myself that permission to rest. And I think in a perfect world, like, we would just hear new information and be like, oh, I need rest. Okay. And then we would just be okay with resting. Unfortunately, in my experience, that's not true. And so sometimes we need some half steps to like bridge the gap or like some training wheels, right? It's like if what you really need is a full night's sleep, but you only have half an hour, the next best thing is a nap, right? So those are kind of the things that I want to talk about. If you're not comfortable just like diving into rest and just giving yourself whatever you need, that's okay. You're in good company. So what I've discovered for myself is that sometimes it can help to have like an event and something that you're doing in order to rest. Okay. So maybe what you like need is to do nothing because rest isn't always sleep, also. Sorry, I think I kind of assumed that I had communicated that. Rest isn't always sleep. It's a lot of the times it's like psychological downtime where your brain doesn't have to be doing all the things. And then your body too. So you're not like running around all the time. Sometimes it is like laying in a hammock or sitting on a beach, right? And just like watching the ocean or on a lake, whatever it is. So what has helped me to like kind of be a step and bridge that gap from go, 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 go to absolute rest is actually doing something restful. So for me, what I've loved is kind of a date, like setting and creating an event for myself where like I'm going to do something. And so maybe you're not able to really like nap at home because the kids are running around and so it's actually not really restful, or you can like try sitting and reading but you're going to be like visually triggered by all the things that you should be doing, and so you're not actually able to enjoy that rest. Because one of the things we talked about last time with romanticizing is it's not just what you're doing but it's like how you're doing it and being in that experience and what you're getting out of it. Okay, so if the rest you want is to like read a book, but that you're not experiencing that as restful, like yeah, you're still reading, so you can check that off the list. But if that's like the self-care, but you're not getting that rest out of it, then it's okay to see, okay, how can I tweak this? What can I do? So maybe you're going to a coffee shop and you're reading. So you're not, like thinking that you should be cleaning the living room instead of actually enjoying the book you're reading. Or you feel guilty because the kids are coming up to you and you're like, oh, this is supposed to be my me time. Like, but you're not, it's actually not nurturing because you feel so bad with what you're not doing, right? So sometimes we need to get ourselves out of the environment so that we can actually enjoy the care that we're giving ourselves. Okay. And that can seem silly, but for me, like that's what I needed. Like I wasn't getting the value out of the actions because of the environment I was in. Like I was doing the things, but it wasn't nurturing. It didn't feel like care because of the environment that I was in. And I just couldn't get my mind there. And that's okay, right? Oh, I think ultimately we want to work towards that. But I think what can be more valuable is instead of shoulding on yourself, like, well, I should be able to just get in the zone and read this book and enjoy it, and I should be feeling better and feeling nurtured after it. Shoulding on yourself is not going to help. Okay. So instead of doing that, let's try to problem solve and be like, okay, so what do we need? Okay. Do we need to read the book in a park? Do we need to read a book in a coffee shop? So that you have a new environment and then maybe you're able to kind of get that nurturing out of it that you're wanting to. Maybe instead of taking a nap, you're going to go sit by a lake or sit at a park or lay in a hammock, right? Or lay out on the beach. So it's like you're doing something to get that rest. And for me, like that was such a helpful bridge to get to the rest is I was able to like trick myself and be like, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna take myself on a date. I'm going to do an activity. And the activity is laying in a hammock reading a book. That is so restful. That is so nurturing. And so that's why I wanted to share it with you, is because it was like so helpful for me. You could have a plan and then like have an event where you're doing something, and then that event is the rest. That's the nurture. And for me, that was so helpful because there's so many factors of like learning how to rest. There's the physical factor of like letting your body be still, and then your mind giving yourself the permission to not be doing all the things. And then it's like the self-talk also. So then you also have to, in order to get the full benefit of rest, you also kind of have to not beat yourself up the whole time you're resting because that kind of defeats the purpose. And so there's multiple facets, and it's okay not to like have all those on lock all at once. It's okay to have to like work on one thing and then kind of use the training wheels for the other. Um, so I had a couple ideas. Sorry. So we're talking about the date and then maybe meditating, for example, right? Maybe if you're not ready to meditate or like seems dumb or you can't focus or whatever, whatever, whatever. But maybe if you have an event, if you do a thing, if you take a bath, then maybe you're able to kind of sit back and close your eyes and just have some quiet and sit in quiet for those moments because you're doing something, you're taking a bath. Those kind of things can be so helpful, especially I think as neurodivergents, it can be really hard to like meditate and like sit in silence and try to like clear your thoughts. But if you like have something to do, if or there's like a physical, so sometimes that can be like, and I'm not super into meditating. I don't want to give bad advice, but like watching a candle, right? Or that's why we say focus on your breath. It like gives you something to do. Um, and I kind of touched on this earlier too. Like maybe you can't really relax at home because there's always something to do. Maybe there's, people reminding you to do stuff, or maybe there's visual triggers. I think it's an ADHD thing because that is huge for me. Like I'll see things and I do that intentionally sometimes, right? Like if I put something in the way and it's annoying and it bothers me, it's like, yeah, because I'm trying to remind myself to take care of that thing. But then sometimes it happens unintentionally, and I'm like, oh, yeah, there's stuff on the floor. I should sweep and mop the floor. Like, oh, there's stuff sitting on my nightstand. Like, I should declutter and put that stuff away. And it's like, so when you're trying to sit and read a book, or you're trying to rest, or you're trying to paint, or you're trying to journal, and it's like you keep seeing these visual triggers, or like, oh, I should really be doing something else. That can be really frustrating and exhausting, which defeats the purpose. So sometimes it can be so helpful to just take yourself out of that situation. And especially nature, right? Nature is like prime rest, recovery, self-care environment. So it's even more of an excuse, right? It's like sometimes you need to get out of the house and maybe you need to be in nature, or maybe you just need to be somewhere else where you're not constantly seeing things that make you feel like you should not be resting, that you have too much to do. And so that can also be putting your phone on D&D. Because if you're trying to have a moment and you're trying to be present, and then the notifications are going off, and you're like, oh man, yeah, actually, and you're being pulled in a million different directions now. D&D is self-care. Okay. Personally, I'm a big phone on silent. I actually don't use D&D all that much, but whatever works for you. See, that ties back to what we were talking about last time too. Is like different things are going to work for different people, or even different things will work for you in different seasons, and that is okay. That is totally okay. Like, let's just stop beating ourselves up for not fitting into a box or not needing the same thing all the time. Like, you are allowed to grow and develop and change, and seasons are going to be different, and things are just going to be different, and that's okay. That's why we constantly have to check in with ourselves, and we have to come back and see, is this working? Has something changed? Have I changed? Do I need something else? Because that is a totally normal part of growing and learning, is you're going to need different things. Okay. So, kind of wrapping up to like how to, right? When we're struggling to like allow ourselves to rest, or even to like romanticize or self-care or have needs and meet them, right? When it's new, you got to practice it. And this is so true for like so many new things, right? And it can be uncomfortable, and that's okay. New things often are. When we're unlearning old patterns and we're trying to relearn new things, that process is very uncomfortable. So I want to try to encourage you that because it feels uncomfortable, or maybe you feel bad at it, or you feel like it's not working, that's not necessarily an indicator that you should stop, okay? Discomfort is a side effect of change and growth. Growth is change. Literally, by the fact of growing, you're not staying the same. So, and change is uncomfortable. So growth is uncomfortable. So discomfort is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. Um, Also, the one of the, oh my gosh, yeah, one of the things that was important for me is like the setup can suck, right? Especially if you have like maybe some anxiety, or some things feel like overwhelming, right? Like new situations, or whatever it might be, right? The setup can suck and it can feel not worth it. So we're talking about the discomfort, right? And I've had so many times where I'm like, I didn't want to work through the discomfort to get the result. And so I just didn't do anything, right? It was easier to just watch Netflix because I know how that works and it's comfortable and it's right here and I don't have to like do anything. instead of getting out of the house and going and finding a place with trees where I can hang my hammock, right? But it's like, it's so worth it once you do. And so a combination of like go choose and then be willing to try new things based on where your energy and your head is at can be really powerful. Like sometimes my self-care is more like adventurous and I want to try something new, right? And then other times it's I want more rest and something that feels more familiar. So when you have a little bit more capacity, when you're feeling more adventurous, right, then go find a new spot, go find a new picnic spot, go find a new hike, go find a new hammocking spot, right? And then when you're more on the other side where you're wanting that like rest and comfort, then go back to the hammock spot. Go back to your favorite spot on the beach. Go back to that hike that you love or that walk that you like. And so these two things like they kind of add like both sides of the coin. And so you can give yourself those different things as you need them. But I want to encourage you, like, it can be a struggle at first to lay the foundation and set yourself up for that comfort, because if you're not doing it, it's going to be uncomfortable, right? So we oftentimes have to work up the courage first. Like you have to work up the courage to change the routine and, tell your spouse, like, hey, I need an afternoon off. I need XYZ. I am going to be going to this coffee shop and reading this book. Okay. Like that conversation, that startup can be hard, but it's going to be so much worth it. It's going to be worth it in the end, right? It's like we have to be willing to invest in ourselves and invest in the change and work through the discomfort of the change in order to be able to reap the benefits of what that change is bringing, right? So I want to encourage you, like, I know it can be really hard, and changing routines, changing things it's an, it's a, like a speed bump, right? It's not impossible, but it requires something different from you. And I want to encourage you to be willing to invest in yourself anyway and lay that foundation so that you have it, so you can reap those benefits throughout the rest of that season. Because you're worth it. Like you are absolutely worth that investment cost, that setup cost, right? That time investment to do the things that are going to fill you and rejuvenate you and allow you to rest. And sometimes when we're struggling with like how to do it and trying to wrap our heads around it, like sometimes some practical things can just be helpful, right? We're talking about romanticizing. And so and like, I'm a vibey girl. Okay. I love a vibe. And I love that it's actually gotten like so trendy. So we all know how to set a vibe. Okay. And that can be really powerful when you're talking about romanticizing. So if it's something like you're wanting to increase your rest and it's like literal sleep, right? Maybe blackout curtains, maybe a comfier pillow. It's like, what can we do to add to the vibe? Maybe it's a white noise machine, or maybe it's like playing ocean sounds on your phone. Like, you don't always have to buy something new. Okay. That's another thing. I'm like, romanticizing self-care is not all, it's not always just spending money, okay, on frilly stuff. Like, these are like practical, useful things that actually make an impact on like your energy and your life. Okay. Maybe it's moving the TV out of the bedroom. Okay. Maybe it is setting like a changing the settings where you can't get on TikTok after 9 p.m. or whatever, right? So you're not doing that blue light and getting sucked in, and the next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. Not that I've ever done that, but I've heard, that people do. Again, maybe it's putting your phone on D&D. Maybe it's putting your phone on silent. Maybe it's adding a blanket when you're reading your book or when you're journaling, and it's just you're cozier, right? Or you're wearing your favorite fuzzy socks, or maybe you're doing like a mask while you're reading and it just helps you know like that's what romanticizing boils down to for me. It's just like taking a moment and adding that extra like, yes, David. Like, oh, this is so nice. Like, I just want to stay here. Like, it's just so cozy. Really, that's what this whole podcast like boils down to. This whole month of romanticizing is just like, anyway, okay, sorry. um yeah, D&D, adding something, a cozy beverage, right? I love a coffee. Okay, I'm always like enhancing my vibe for the podcast with my little beverage. Okay, I love a coffee. I love a warm beverage. A candle. Adding a candle for anything, right? You're adding ambiance. You're adding a beautiful scent to your environment. Like you're just like adding a little bit of richness and luxury to that experience. So those are some of my favorite, like just little practical things to kind of enhance. Um, while you're trying to romanticize your life. And I just want to reiterate like, you're worth it. You have so much to offer this world. And so, cultivating like the soil of your soul and really nurturing yourself is going to make what you bring out into the world so much, like, even more beautiful than it already is. So to kind of recap, I think the whole point of it is so that you're like to enhance your capacity to believe in yourself, give yourself space to be creative and tap into your talents so that you can have the impact you want to have. If you're burnt out, exhausted, you're not going to be able to show up the way that you want to, the way that you were designed to. So rest, nurture, pour into yourself so that then like your life is this work of art that other people are going to see and benefit from. All right, that's all I got. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. I love these conversations and I would love for it to be more of a conversation. So please feel free to hit me up. I'm at the Fierce Framework on social media, on YouTube, podcast platforms, and my email is confidence@thefierceframework.net. Feel free to drop me a line. I'll also include a link if you want to make sure that you're signed up for my newsletter. I drop little love letters on Saturdays. And I also send reminders when the podcast drops. So I know with the biweekly, it can be hard to keep track. So I now do little email reminders to make sure that you don't miss an episode. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, make sure you're signed up to the email list, and I will talk to you so soon. Until then, keep becoming fierce.